with, hold on.
Sorry about that, Barry. I just hit
That's
the
okay.
record button.
It just popped up on the screen. That's fine.
Okay.
So in this case, each side is completely different, both sleeves as well. And it's just with that random number theory. So in the instructions, when you get it, I've written it out exactly as I've done it. If this is exactly what you want, it's exactly what you get. If you choose to be a free spirit, you can take the colors and do the bag theory the way that I talked about it and let it come into its own life all on its own. It can be bright, it cannot be bright. Somebody showed me a sample the other day that they did, and I thought it was fantastic. She wanted one colorway. She loved only the colors in that colorway, but her changes were stockinette and reverse stockinette, so that it gave the fabric texture instead of it all being flat, and it helped in creating the illusion of the stripes. So this is the streaker jacket, has a beautiful deep V, and it's a beautiful yarn to knit with. Also in streaker is our tee. Now there's a lot of patterns done out of streaker. If indeed you fall in love with one of our yarns, you can always go to TrendsetterYarns.com, find the yarn, and on that page, if you click pattern search, it will give you every pattern done in some of our yarns. And some of them, we've got hundreds of patterns. And the store can get you any one of the patterns and can get you the yarn for them as well. So in this case, I chose to also show in streaker the t-shirt with the drop stitch. It's reverse stockinette. In this case, on each stitch, you're doing a yarn over, purl one, all the way across. On the row back, when you do the knit row, you drop the extra wrap. So it's knit one, drop one, knit one, drop one, and it creates an elongated stitch. And what that does is it creates a longer body. You can see how it changed the striping. The striping is less condensed because the drop stitch elongated it. And the front and the back don't stripe in exactly the same way. So again, free spirit. And this is the yarn in the ball, and this is what it becomes. So the next jacket, I'm showing you from the back. Seems kind of crazy to show something backwards, but there's a reason for it. Right now, this is a 2-row stripe. So if I turn it inside out, that's what it looks like. It's 2 rows of Heavenly and 2 rows of Maldives. They're 2 of our newest yarns, all done in stockinette. And this was going to be the right side. When I was done, I looked at it and went, I just don't want another striped garment. So we took it, and I loved the reverse side. By putting a 2-row stripe in reverse, you do get a linear look, but it's not such a definitive stripe. The other thing that we've done to break it up is for people who are larger on the bottom, whether it's hips, tummy, or tush, or you just like things that move so that as you walk, it moves with you. This is an A-line jacket. Okay, this is about 60 inches on the bottom. And it ends up at a 42 up here. What we've done is we've inserted darts. In the past, we used to put all of our increases right on the side. But by doing that, it made pieces stick out. So as you walked, it stayed out from your body. By putting your shaping internal to the fabric, it creates this ruffle so that as you wear it, it sits perfectly close to the body. So it doesn't make you look bigger, but it covers the areas that we want to cover. Really is just that simple. And here's the front. So just a classic cardigan. The A-line darts are on the fronts as well. And I do put them front and back. Unless you are completely, you are perfectly flat going down, I try and put the darts in the back as well. That way the fabric flows and is even. But if indeed your body is set where you are fuller in the front and really small in the back, you can do the darts only in the front. As far as color options for this, I've loved playing with it. So you want to take two colors that are in combination. So here's the two yarns. This might make it a little easier. So this is Heavenly, and it is multicolored. It's a blend of cotton and viscose. And then this is Maldives, and it's linen and cotton, and has a little tiny texture to it. And they're worked 2 rows of each. So you want to make sure that they work together, but they don't want to match perfectly, or all of the work you put in here won't show. So a couple of other color combinations. This is the rust with the greens. Here's browns and rusts. For people who just want fun, simple, we took the white. Let's move it up closer so the lights don't blow it out. This is white with earth. So again, you can wear this with gray pants, with chinos, just about anything, even blue jeans. And then for the sample balls that I showed you, here's the way that it works. So just a real comfortable jacket, good for all year round use. And again, it's the A-line effect in it that makes it flit and flow really nicely on the body. I've also had a really good time in blending yarns. So many times we just fall in love with the yarn and we use it exactly as it is. And the base yarn on here is called Colorissimo. It's a yarn from Lana Grossa, and that's one ball. So within the one ball, there's about 85 different shades. It's a merino, so it's a wool. It's spun, but not twisted. So it's what we call an open fiber. And by doing that, they take 2-ply, twist them together, and all the dyes create new color tones. Just really an amazing, amazing yarn. In here, it is one colorway. So every one of these shades came from one color number. I started knitting it and I loved it, but I also like a touch of glitter. And as people are getting out of the house and they're enjoying events and they're doing things, people have asked for more detail in their yarns. So I took a strand of Berlino, and Berlino is a metallic. It is hard to see online, but it's a chained and twisted metallic. It can be used on its own. If you're a needle pointer, this needle points beautifully. If you're an embroiderer or a quilter, this is one of those yarns that becomes multi-purpose within your craft room. And all I did was one strand of each together. Now there's a secret to it, and I'll share the secret with you. When you're putting 2 yarns together, take one of them, put it in a Ziploc bag, and sit it underneath it. Run the strand of it up through the center of the ball, pull it out the top, and then take this one from the outside. Okay, so once again, one of them on the bottom in a Ziploc bag, it comes up through the center of the ball, pull it out the other side, and this ball gets taken from the outside. And what's going to happen is one's coming up the center, the other one's going to wrap around it. What that does is the metallic flows evenly all the way through. When you run 2 yarns parallel, just sitting side by side, they can do a thing called streaking. And so it means one of them shows up on top and one disappears, instead of looking twisted together where it's all in place. So again, 2 yarns together, gorgeous colors, the one colorway, front and back, blended together, but I also put the darts back in here. You can always see when I have darts, because of that little bit of ruffle. It hangs perfectly straight on the body, but the extra fabric is here. And I often get told we don't do enough things with pockets. So I threw pockets in this. It's a really nice wide pocket. It also has the metallic in there. It stays true to who the piece is as a design. And I put the pockets on top because, again, I wanted to break up the colors. So the pockets don't match the background. And the dart is still there. It sits behind the pocket, which is why the pocket is extra big. So just a really beautiful jacket. You don't have to put the metallic in. So I've had people say, my lifestyle, I never get dressed up. Personally, I don't think metallic has to be only for dress. You can use it and wear it anytime you want, but it is ultimately your decision. But it's a great jacket. So if you don't want the metallic, you can just use Colorissimo and you'll be fine on gauge. It doesn't affect your gauge. So Berlino and Colorissimo jacket. And don't forget, if you've got questions on any of this or you need to see something differently, you can unmute yourself and talk. What you can't see in that side of my house is I have hundreds of chairs. I love company and I love having people over. And on every chair, I have lap throws. So this is a panel from one of the lap throws. This is the yarn called Heavenly. So it's that multicolored. It is heavenly to knit. It is a cotton and viscose. And all I've done is boxes of stockinette and reverse stockinette. So it's very, very subtle. You can see stockinette and then reverse stockinette, and they alternate horizontally and vertically. Kept it simple. In the instructions, there's instructions for a scarf. So it's half the width of the wrap. This is the wrap, and it's huge. I want to say it's 18 by almost 90. And then in the instructions, there's also a throw, which would be 2 of these. So if you're somebody like me that just loves to have decorative throws all over chairs and all around things, one pattern gives you all of the options. And I designed it just because I wanted something simple. I know one day life's going to get back to the point that I can get on an airplane and go. And when I do, I love to knit. This is the kind of project I take with me. Got my needles, got one ball of yarn, and the pattern's easy enough to follow. So this is just a real classic, very drapey. It just sits, well, you're not going to wear it with the hanger, I hope, but has just a really great drape to it. So the width of the wrap will gather as a scarf, or you can wear it wrapped around your body and let the width help cover. So this one is one of our most exciting yarns. This is a yarn called Skaha. It's S-C-A-H-A. Crazy name, but it is named Skaha because it's scarf hat. Now this doesn't look like a scarf or a hat, I realize that, but the yarn was designed. And here's the yarn. So I'm just going to set that sweater down for a second. This is one ball, 240 grams, and one ball is enough to do a hat and a scarf. So you start at the outside. It starts out multicolored. It goes into shades and it goes back to multi. And then there's going to be a part in here, which I won't dig for it. There's a part in here where there's undyed yarn. It goes to white. When you see the white, you bind off your scarf is done. And what's left is enough yarn to do your hat. Oh, here we go. In the flesh. So the start of this game, working off the ball, I did it in garter stitch and a slipped rib stitch. So it starts out multi, goes to shades, and it shades light to dark or dark to light. And then it comes back to multi. And right at the end, you're going to see that undyed. It's a strand of white yarn. You bind off, your scarf is done. And then this is the yarn that was left for the hat. This is done on the diagonal. So you're increasing on one side, decreasing on the other, every other row. So your stitch count stays exactly the same. So the number of stitches never change, but the pattern goes on the diagonal. And there's just a really nice flow along with the color changes. And for the hat, I did exactly the same thing. It's done circular. At the end, you take your tail, run it through the side edge, gather it, and you've got your hat. So one ball, scarf, hat. When you do this, there's one big pattern leaflet that gives you 10 different options of hats and scarves, each one of them taking only one ball. But people have asked us, love the yarn, what else can I do with it? And so that's where this jacket came to play. So it started, this one takes 3 skeins. It starts down here, the multicolored. You get to the width, it's done increasing on both edges. You get to half the width and you put it on a holder. Cast on the opposite side, increase each end. You get to the halfway point and now you merge them. And it's all worked in one piece from the bottom up so that your stitch count stays the same. You have an increase, double decrease, increase, and your stitches stay the same and it works straight up. And then you decrease down. So this back is one piece, starting from 2 separate skeins so that the corners matched, and then just working straight off the ball. For the fronts, we just let it go however it went, right off of the remaining parts of the ball. So what was left, it started, it continues to the half width, and increase, decrease for it to come up. It's just a really classic jacket, vest. If you want sleeves, you would need an extra ball of yarn, or you can throw in a solid. There's some beautiful solids that would work in here. In this case, I just wanted it vest style. And I loved the way that those bright colors just kind of played in, but there's a beautiful color range within Skaha. So another option for a really fun yarn.
Barry.
Yes.
On different sizes, do you get the same symmetry on the front that you do on your model there?
You will, but it will be in different places.
But it won't look awkward. I mean,
no, it does not look awkward, because to make this bigger, this becomes shorter. All these colors move down because it's taking you longer to make it wider. On the fronts, it will do the same thing. So because you're using more of this yarn to get the back done, these might end up down here, but it's all just the luck of the draw. Or you can be the control person and move the yarn so that things match and you can put them where you want them. And that is your option, because the beginning of the skein and the end of the skein are always the same. So just make sure not to knit in here the white.
oh,
Okay. All right, with Lana Grossa, they have been hearing me talk about, and they keep on top of the US market. For those of you who don't know Lana Grossa as a company, they're one of the oldest and one of the largest companies. They're based in Germany. All of their yarns come from Italy. So I've met them. just a little funny story, a little tidbit here for you. The owner of the company, his name is Herr Gross. And in German, the word Grosse, G-R-O-S-S-E, means big. He's about 6'5" and maybe weighs 180 pounds. Okay. Then I go to meet him, and my last name is Klein. Well, Kleine in German means little, not. So I said to him, could we just switch names? It would probably be more appropriate, but it's nice that little and big are working together. So we always have fun every time we see each other to see if we change, but so far, no. Haven't been lucky enough, and I know he doesn't want to get bigger. So one of the things that they've done now is they've added a hand dye collection to Lana Grosse. In the past, they stayed only to regular dyed yarns, nothing that got done manually. But they saw the energy that we have here in the States for it and the love that we have. One of the things that they are known for as a company is their silk hair. It's a blend of kid mohair and silk, and the two fibers are brushed together. It's what we call an intimate blend. When fibers aren't just twisted around each other, but combed through, it creates an intimate blend. This is an intimate blend, and then they take it and they space dye it. And I wanted something that you could just throw on. So this as a design, as a piece, it's 3 skeins of yarn. And that's the size of it, okay? I don't freak out by doing this. You can tuck this in a purse. You can put this over your shoulders if your shoulders get cold, but you can also undo it, shake it out, and then you just pop it on. And what I did with the design aspect on here is I wanted the A-line, but I didn't want to put darts because this is a lace weight yarn. You know what? Let me try one thing. Let's see if this is going to work. No, kind of not. But it is a lace weight yarn. It's very, very thin and sheer. That's the yarn. And it is a hand-dyed yarn. And so I'll put the camera back because that's just blurry. What we've done in this case is to get the A-line effect, we played with needle sizes. So you start with a 9 needle, then you go to an 8 needle, then a 7, and then a 6. And so the difference in gauge, staying on the same number of stitches, gives it the flow and the A-line effect without having to do any shaping whatsoever. There you go. So you can see just how beautiful the hand dye effect is in the yarn. Very light, very simple, can be worn by itself, can also be a cardigan, but it's easy to layer this with other pieces. So it is silk hair hand dye from Lana Grosse. I have always loved hats and scarves. I love teaching them, and there's always a reason for them. This is one of the newer ones, and this is our patchwork. What we've done is it does all different stitch patterns. And I'm showing it to you. Excuse me, it's inside out. So we've done slip stitch patterns, moving diagonal slip stitch. This is a stitch called the eyelet cable. So there is a yarn over in the middle of a cable, but there is no cable needle done. So it's done with a yarn over that scoots stitches over. And the best part about it is it's great for a baby blanket. All of these stitches are serving a purpose and teaching you other ways to use yarns. People love this because it becomes a buttonhole. So this is a great border stitch, and a button can go right through the middle of the eyelet. There's box patterns, and there's slip stitch patterns and ribbed patterns. It's just really fun to do, and we don't often do things for men. And this is one that would be perfect for a man to wear. It's a yarn called Ultimoda Cashmere Fine. It is a chained yarn. When something is called a chain yarn, what that means is it's done circular, and there's little crochet hooks that come up out of the top, and it chains it one after the other, and it pulls down. So it's tubular, it's like an I-cord. And what that does is it gives you the ability to pull it and let it go, and it bounces right back into shape. I can do the same thing here. I can pull it, let it go, and it bounces right back into shape. So that's a chained yarn, and a 50-gram skein of this yarn has 235 yards. So the scarf and the hat is 3 skeins. It goes a really long way. It is beautiful. It's been in the collection for about 6 years and is one of our most popular yarns. So it's become a classic. Let's see if I can. So you can see the box patterns, the ribbed patterns, double seed. There's the rose eyelet cable and the moving rib. And then we've got a box stitch that looks woven. And we just repeat these going through. So if there's a group of you, or you're trying to teach a group of people some different stitches, or you've just got a bunch of friends and you want to play with things, this is a great scarf and hat to do that. Again, the yarn is Ultimoda Cashmere Fine. It's pattern 6201D, and the instructions for both are together. Sticking with the theme of hat and scarf, we've just done this. I'm going to throw it on because one day this is going to get to come home with me. This is done in fisherman's rib. What that means is it's knit in the row below. So instead of knitting stitch by stitch, you knit into the stitch that sits under the V that's on the needle. So it dips it. It creates an elongated V. It also allows you to use 2 different colors as we've done here, and one sits on the back side and one's on the front. So on this side, you're seeing the gray and brown. On the opposite side, you're seeing the rust and brown. Completely reversible. There's no right side, wrong side. We played with row count, doing Fibonacci numbers, and it works from one side to the other. This is done in hand dye, which also from Lana Grossa. It's their Cool Wool Big. And the secret is pick 2 colors that are contrast enough so that one side to the other, you get to see them both. So just one example of what you can put together, but there's lots to pick from. I love the elasticity of it. I love the drape of it. You can take it and wrap it around. Where I am, we don't get snow down here in Tarzana. I know in Colorado, you see a few flakes every now and then. Perfect for this. Throw it under a jacket, wrap it around. It just feels really good. It's pure merino, and it actually is machine washable. With what was left, here's the hat. Keeping the same stitch pattern, it's done in fisherman's rib. If I turn it inside out, so a hat that's reversible, the gray sits on the outside with the rust underneath. I can take it and flip it. And now the rust is on the outside and the gray becomes the border, and it shows both shades. So hat and scarf, you don't have to do them both. The yarn quantity that we tell you about is enough to do both. Completely up to you if you do 1 piece, 2 pieces, or more. It's also a great stitch pattern. Like I've already taken the yarn and tucked it into my stash because I'm going to do this as a throw. I love what this does, how it opens up and shows another color. I also love the fact that it's completely reversible. No right side or wrong side. Cool Wool Big, hand dye from Lana Grossa, and it's 2 contrasting colors. Got a couple more pieces for you. One of the things I love about representing Lana Grossa is that they do yarns in colors that run from range to range to range. So this is a blend. It's what we call a blendy. We do quite a few of these kinds of things where we take, this is Eco Puno, which is cotton and alpaca, silk hair, which we know about. Okay, we just talked about it. It's silk hair, it's silk and mohair, and then Brilino, which is metallic. And it's all 3 in matching red. This is just a simple, classic V-neck, but you can see what happens when the light hits the metallic. You can see this gorgeous sparkle. And now you can see what happens with all 3 of them. And where I was talking before about plating, this is what plating does. So you can see where it's creating stripes because I just twisted the fibers together. I didn't run one through the center of the other where they could wrap. I just took them, put all 3 ends on a yarn twister and twisted them. And so it created the plating effect. And I just kept it consistent through all of my pieces. But what makes it perfect for Lana Grossa is that there's tons of colors that you can get the same effect. This would be a perfect classic V-neck cardigan. In this case, I played with golds, but it could be done in teals and browns. You could name 100 colors because each of these ranges have between 20 and 30 colors. You can also take it and create your own tweed. Somebody sent me a swatch the other day where they took all 3 yarns in different colors and blended them together. And it was beautiful. It'll just be a little more tweeded. You won't get that set metallic. And then we have chunky. So this is called About Berlin Bulky. Now, keep in mind that a lot of times we use the word bulky, not because things are heavy, but it's bulky in terms of thickness. The yarn itself is a tube. So it's like a pair of pantyhose. It's a cage on the outside. And as the cage is spun, they push raw cotton fiber into the center. And so it expands it. I mean, just to be graphic, it's like putting a pair of pantyhose on your leg. As it comes up the thigh, the pantyhose pulls out more. Well, this is doing the same thing. It's a cage on the outside and the cotton is creating the bulky thickness, but not the weight. There's a solid version. This is the hand-dyed version. And what they've done is they've used Brilino, the metallic that we keep talking about, just as a really nice crocheted border at the bottom. You can see the thickness of the fiber, but not the weight. And the metallic is also around the neck and used across the shoulder. So just a great little t-shirt with a metallic trim. And this is About Berlin Bulky. In the paperwork that we created for you, there was another piece in About Berlin Bulky that didn't make it back in time for me to show it to you today. We'll try the camera thing again at the end because I have a picture of it. And you know what? We're gonna try this because I think it's better. So this is a new yarn called Romanza Cotone. And it is a romantic cotton in the way that the yarn comes to play. This is one colorway. It's not this colorway, but that's what the box looks like and what the yarn looks like. It is cotton, linen, and viscose, but all 10 skeins have different shades in them and they all start and stop at different places. And so what happens is as you knit it, you just let the colors come off the ball. In this instance, we kept it in stockinette up to the top and put a rib in there to help bring it up. The back, we did the same thing. Just let it come right off the ball. At the top, it changes to rib. We did no monkeying around with the colors. We ran out of one ball, we took the next one. Whatever happens, happens. Same things with the sleeves. In this case, we kept the shaping down to a minimal. So there's no armhole shaping. It's a drop shoulder. It's the other reason for putting the ribbing at the top, is that it helps gravity and it pulls the whole jacket up so that it sits really nicely on the shoulders. Again, pockets. People have loved pockets, keep asking for them. These are strong pockets. They're pretty wide and they're set on top with a gorgeous crocheted border on there. Just be careful putting cell phones in here because this is a cotton yarn. So putting anything too heavy in there can make things get a little bit off shape. But just a real classic jacket and a really beautiful yarn called Romanza Cotone, and there are some gorgeous, gorgeous color combinations. And this is one of my personal favorite pieces for many, many reasons. So this is a yarn called About Berlin Vanity, AB Vanity. It's a tweed, and it's a real subtle tweed. It's tonal, it's tone on tone. We use 2 different tweed colors and then a yarn called Solo Lino. And to create Solo Lino, it's 100% linen. It starts out natural. And if you know pure linen, it's rough and scratchy and the stitches don't sit together. So what they do is they knit it, they take it and they shred it. Like if you've gone by a house and they have that machine outside, they're shoving trees through it and it shreds it. They do the same thing with the linen. They knit it, they shred it, and they break it down. And then they extrude it again in what they call viscose style. So it comes out like strands of spaghetti and they get a shine. So it stays as 100% linen, but it's shiny viscosed on the top and raw natural linen on the inside. And that's the solid colors that are in here. We've done a really fun zigzag pattern and it alternates from one fiber to the other in different row counts. I love the little border at the bottom. It helps keep it, let's see, there we go. So it's not perfectly straight. You cast on a bigger needle. So again, it has a little bit of a flare to it at the bottom. There's no shaping in here up until the armholes. And then we put a ribbed border at the top here so that the sleeve stays in place on the body. And again, it just comes down to fit. We kept the neckline simple in order to keep the detail all in place and all working with just a really beautiful drape to it. Up to you what you wear underneath it. I've seen it with a tank dress. I've seen it in the evenings, just, you know, with a nice bra and a gorgeous pair of slacks. It just depends who you are and what you're comfortable with. But it's super, super light. Again, it can be folded and molded down to this little tiny ball. This weighs nothing. Super light, great drape, and great movement. And a really fun stitch pattern. It's 2 rows. One is the zigzag pattern, which is a double decrease so that it stays on top and yarn overs. So your stitch count stays the same. The purl row is purl row. So you're not going to have to follow along with a piece of paper. Once you know the pattern, you're all set to go. And then the last little goodies that I have, there's 3 things. This is a really fun cowl that we do. And it's done in brioche. It's a stitch technique that people are loving to do. I've only done it once or twice. To me, it's a little bit slower to do, but the look of it is incredible. It plays one color against the other. One sits behind, one sits on top. But in this case, it's not reversible. It's a great cowl. It can be worn in either direction. And this uses the new sock yarn from Lana Grossa hand dye. It's called Mylan White, which means million miles, because one skein has a million miles. It goes on forever. One skein will do a pair of socks. In this case, there's 2 skeins because there's 2 different colors. And that's what the inside looks like. So you can see just how contrasting. There's nothing wrong with it, but this wouldn't be my ideal side for all that work that you've done. But this is the inside of brioche. We have pre-done some kit combination colors for you. Otherwise, you can pick any 2 colors that you want, and there's lots. And if you are a sock lover, this is a yarn that you will be madly in love with. It's a yarn that's been in Lana Grossa's line about 30, what did you tell me yesterday? 31 years. And every season they do a new variation and a new colorway. So it's ongoing, and now it's part of their hand dye collection. So the Mylan White cowl done in brioche. And now I get to show you my kids. So I have always been a little kid at heart. And having the name Barry, in the US, people call me Barry. And most people call me Bear because they abbreviate it. And so I've always loved teddy bears. And I've been doing knit teddy bears for as long as I can knit, which is actually coming up on 50 years this year. Excuse me. It's an old penguin pattern that I've fallen in love with, and I just rely on it all the time. You do all different pieces, and then it gets sewn together. All of my friends, when they had kids, every baby got one of these. And now these kids are having their own kids, and they're passing it on. So it's just a really nice feeling seeing the little things that I made them pass on from generation to generation. So he's knit in a yarn called Icon, and you can see when the light hits it, there's a touch of a sparkle. And that's because there's a baby paillette inside. Very, very subtle. It's cotton, mohair, and a little touch of a paillette. I think there's alpaca in it as well. And then we just used our regular merino for all the solid pieces. I found a piece of ribbon in my stash. I gave him a bow, but this is the Icon bear. And this is Tiger Bear, because the yarn itself is called Tiger. It is brushed alpaca, also with cotton, and it has tiger stripes going through it. And you just let the colors come out wherever they do. It's a really beautiful yarn for knitwear as well, but I love the idea that I was using tiger to create a bear. So, you know, I like to have fun as well. So same pattern, different color, different kind of yarn, but you get the same idea. And really we call these Barry is Berry Happy. So these little things make me very happy. And being able to celebrate and share this all with you today also makes me really happy. So I appreciate this opportunity. It's really, it's what I love to do.
Thanks, Barry. Remember everyone, if you have any questions, you can put your questions in the chat. And if you want Barry to show something that he has shown, I'm sure he'd be glad to hold something up.
Absolutely.
So if you have any questions, this is your time to do it or to request a second viewing. And all the links are on the chat, thanks to Paula.
One other note for everybody as well. So that the paperwork that I put together for the store, we didn't give you color options on most of the things. There's links to our color cards to the things online, and the store is great about having access to all of that as well. Reach out to us. If you love a design and you want to incorporate your own colors, ask them. They can talk to me. I can send you a photograph. We can put things together. I just did an event for a store where it was a multicolored jacket, and all I did one night was take out everyone's colorway, photograph it, and send it. In the end, everybody took their colors. So use us. It's what we're here for.
Barry, there's a question in the chat. What is the fiber content of the, how do you say that one? SCAHA?
Skaha.
Skaha.
Skaha is 90% wool, 10% nylon, and it's also a tubular yarn. So it's chained, and the nylon just gives it extra strength.
And I have a question, Barry. Are
Yeah.
any of the cardigans that you showed us, are they sewn together on the side seam, or are they knit as one piece?
No, everything is sewn together. When I learned how to design eons and eons ago, I was told that the most important thing you can learn as a knitter is how to sew something together. So when we started earlier, I heard conversation, I think it was Margot, you're taking a class, a finishing class coming up. Really important. Or Donna, somebody's taking a class, anyways, a finishing class. It's really important to know how to put things together. Gravity pulls things down. So all of my sweaters, unless they're done from the top down, are done with side seams, so that you have the ability to pull things up, to pull them down, to look at them and to play with them and to really know how things fit. But for anybody who wants to do it in one piece, all of our instructions are easy just to do back and front together up to the armhole. And if anybody needs help, just send me an email and I will answer you back on that.
Yes, Barry means that he's very helpful and ready to answer questions. So
I do respond for sure.
yes, he does. Well, I guess that I don't see any other questions. So
Barry, could you talk about the other thing that's on the paper is the ruffled border eyelet V cardigan? Can you tell us about what that's knit in?
Ruffled border.
You want the number? It's pattern 10-8, GL look 10-8. It's made with Lana Grossa Alesia.
Oh, yeah, here. Let me see if this is gonna work this time. All right, so that's the piece that we're looking at. And Alessia is, so here's the yarn. It's a ribbon. It's like a shoelace ribbon. And some of the colors are shaded, very subtly shaded. This color has a metallic wrap around it. There are some that don't. They just have a regular viscose or a shine to it. And this is the piece. It's actually out being done for a TV show. We got a call that they were looking for something specific for an artist. And did we have anything? They came, they tried it on, and it's going to be in a photo shoot. It's just a really beautiful eyelet pattern. And the beauty of it in its yarn is that knitting a tape, because of the construction of the tape being circular and the binder, super soft, it stays in place, and every one of these details always show. A lot of times you take all the time to do lace, and when you wear it, gravity closes it off and it disappears. In this case, it stays there the entire way. So this is Alessia. And then here's the picture of the other one that was in your group that didn't make it. And this is About Berlin. Here's the About Berlin as a yarn. So you can see the thickness of it, but it doesn't have that weight. And that's the cage. And then stuffed inside of it is the natural cotton. Just gives it a really, really beautiful effect. And in this case, what they've done is each yarn is used for one row. So you knit the multicolor, then you knit the solid. Then you turn, you purl the multicolor, turn, purl the solid. So it's 2 rows of knit and 2 rows of purl, allowing each one of these to be single rows. It's a really fun technique in playing with color change. I'm going to put one other piece under here. This one. So this is what happens. This is the Colorissimo and the metallic. So you can see all the really beautiful shades that are in here. And by pulling that one metallic up the center, you can see how the metallic stayed even the entire way without any difference. And here's the darts. That's what the dart effect does. So it's worked up to a point, you're working 3 stitches together, and then you continue. And it just moves up in a vertical fashion, but it never goes all the way up to the bust, and it doesn't start at the bottom. It's basically from the top of the tush to the hip, or to the waist, and sometimes up to under the bust. But you never want it to go all the way up to the top of the bust, because otherwise it creates a line that basically takes people's eyes right to your chest.
Barry, what piece is that you're showing?
This one is 6200 N like Nancy, and it's Colorissimo and Berlino pocket cardigan. Just show you a couple more while the camera's. So this is the zigzag. And here's vanity. So you can see the subtle tweed effect. And then you pick colors that contrast, but are shaded in the same family. So this is multi oranges, peaches to coppers. And I went to the solid copper. And this is Sololino. We did the reverse down here. Vanity and the greens. So taupes and greens and celeries. And we went to Sololino in sage. So it's that ability to play color on color and texture to texture.
All right.
Everyone good?
Remember, you can go to our website to click on kits. If you want to look more on the kits, you can click on the links in the chat, and you can also go to trendsetteryarns.com to see other things. And I think you also have the link to your the paper that we're talking about in your email.
Sorry, Susan, I accidentally muted you. You'll have to unmute. Sorry.
Don't you wish you could do that?
My staff would love that switch.
So the links are all in the chat to the paper that Paul has been talking about and referring to, and I'm not sure where I got cut off, but remember, you can go to the Stitching Den on the homepage. You can click to this and get into the show. Paul is recording this. You can also go to trendsetteryarns.com, call us with questions. You know, we're here for you to make your next project fun and fast and very exciting.
So also, Susan, everyone who signed up for this event and paid the $5 to participate receives a coupon for the $5. And the coupon code is FAST &fun. So I'm going to type it in the chat for you so you can see it. It also came in your email that you received this morning. Heidi, I will forward that email to you because I know that you didn't get it. But that is available for you to use $5 off anything that you purchase. And it's also is only available to you. And so if someone's watching this recording in the future, then this discount code was only for today only. So.
All right, thanks, Paula. Well, I think we can let Barry go because I think he's got a busy day.
Yeah, got to set up for another one. But again, thank you all very much. I truly appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity. And know that we are here to help you make sure that things fit and that you love the colors that you're doing. We've got a great track record working together. We're going to keep it going. So everybody, please stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy your knitting. And I hope that we can get together in person really soon.
That would be great, Barry.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Take care.
Bye.